That sounded redundant. Ah. Hey y'all, it's Lindsay and it's Wellness Wednesday, week 25. Last week, I didn't have the opportunity to do a full sit-down video and really kind of talk through some things. So instead, I did a Wellness Wednesday as a live stream, which was a lot of fun. This week, I do have the time to sit down and get this filmed. So we're gonna do it this way this week. And let's talk about the scale. Last week, I weighed in at 146.0, and this week, it was 145.8. So that was a 0.2 loss, which is definitely what I would like to see on the scale. And the week has kind of been an up and down. No one true thing has been super good or super bad. And I feel like whenever you fluctuate back and forth within a couple of pounds, that's just your normal weight fluctuation in general. I do try to weigh myself around the same time of day every time that I do weigh. And so usually it's like the first thing I do in the morning. I'll get up, use the restroom, and then I will try to weigh in. And that way I have that consistency with how I am weighing. Now, I'll still hop on the scale like 100 times throughout the day just for the sake of entertainment. And I will watch the scale climb about 4 pounds and drop about 4 pounds throughout the day. So knowing that it's not really that big of a deal for that aspect, but it's that first thing in the morning weigh in that I tend to focus more on and sort of claim as, okay, this is what I am at right now. I'm glad for the weight loss. I would like to see the momentum continue. And this week has been a little bit of a struggle for me as far as being intentional. Being intentional has been this overarching theme for me this week. I've recognized that this whole summer that we've been out of doing school lessons, I have been very unintentional with our time. I kind of basically allow us to piddle the day away. And that's not really good. That's like becoming a sloth. And I don't think that's really the best use of our time and our energy. And it's not really promoting like a life-giving, healthy way of life. That sounded redundant. So I've been less intentional about how we spend our time. I've also been less intentional with my food choices. Like I haven't intentionally been eating any emails at all. I have not eaten quinoa in a couple of months, maybe less. The point is I cannot remember the last time that I sat down and ate a serving of quinoa. And I like quinoa, so I don't know why I haven't sat down and eaten any of it. And I just haven't been very specific with that sort of thing. And last week I did discuss I discussed snacking, and I'll be sure to link that video in the iCards. And I talked about having the glucky puddings in the refrigerator. That was so helpful. So helpful. And I felt so much better having those glucomannan puddings in my refrigerator. And I wouldn't eat them as is. Like I don't care for that salted caramel flavor that they have. And I don't know if it's a mind over matter type of an issue, but it's definitely not my favorite. The chocolate one, they have it as a mocha flavor, but instead of using coffee in it at all, I just do the cocoa powder, and I'm content with that. And I just keep the liquid part with like the almond milk the same. But I wouldn't just eat them like that. I would take the fluffy stuff we make, which is kind of like cheesecake fluff. It's just cream cheese, whipped cream, and a little bit of sweetener all beat up together, whipped up till it's kind of light and fluffy. So I would take probably maybe 2 tablespoons of the fluffy stuff and mix it into a chocolate glucky pudding. So it would kind of take down any of that slimy-ishness that you can get with glucomannan, but it would also kind of just make it more creamy and make it feel a little bit more like a traditional cooked pudding. And And so that was really helpful. And I haven't been getting as much glucomannan into my daily foods as I would like. And I do appreciate the benefits that we get from glucomannan, you know, with its blood sugar regulation, and it kind of makes you feel fuller longer. At least that's the way it works for me. And I know they discuss glucomannan in the book quite a lot, or not quite a lot, but they do have quite a bit to say about glucomannan. You know, having those kinds of snacks was really helpful, and I became more intentional with my snacking options. And but I was not as intentional with switching up my fuels, and I was not as intentional with my timing. And on page 111 of the original plan and cookbook, there is a part, it's called Chapter 11, You Won't Miss Out. And on page 111, it says, don't decide to partially do this plan and only incorporate these meal styles every now and then. And I'm eating unplanned foods. That's not the problem. The problem is that I am partially doing the plan whenever I don't follow those best practices. And this has become a running theme for me. I've talked about it in countless Wellness Wednesdays, that whenever you are all in, like we talked about for All in April, you're not only just eating unplanned foods, you're following their recommendations of eating every 3 to 4 hours. You're getting in plenty of fluids. You're making sure to switch up those meals as far as fuel types, whether it's a heavy lipid meal or fat meal, or if it's a heavy carb meal and it's always anchored in protein, or if you're actually going to switch it up altogether and just do a high protein, low carb, low fat meal. Like, doing those things is all on Trim Healthy Mama. So I just haven't been intentional with that, and I'm only partially incorporating all of the best practices. And they go on to say in that particular paragraph that they don't expect perfection and you'll mess up, but this plan is not forgiving forever. So you can't just constantly eat off-plan foods as an oopsie every single week or every single day and expect to get the results that you're really wanting. And so this is their exact statement. It's not so forgiving that it will be effective if you do it with a half-hearted approach. And I feel like for me, the best practices are, if I'm not following those best practices, I'm only giving it half-hearted approach or half-hearted attitude. And that's not what this plan is for me. This plan is not perfection. This plan is not regimented. This plan is food freedom. And I think for me, having the structure of the best practices is part of the freedom. It's freedom from having to think about it or be anxious about it or worry about it. It's freedom from feeling bad. It's freedom from feeling constantly munchy in my mind, but my stomach is saying, you're really okay. So it's been kind of an unintentional week that's brought me to the end of the week, or of my Wednesday to Wednesday thing, where I've been very much so thinking intentionality is key for me right now. So over the past several days, I have gone through and I have started my day out with vegetables. I started out, let me backtrack a quarter of a step. I made some beef broccoli and beef and broccoli, kind of an Asian inspired dish in my Instant Pot earlier, or I guess it was Sunday maybe. Anyway, and I made too much cauli rice for that. So on Monday in my scrambled eggs, mine and Jared's scrambled eggs, I decided that I would go ahead and just add in that cauli rice. It was already cooked, so all I had to do was just toss it in the pan with the eggs so that it would just get warmed up, and it was great. That plus some peppers and a little pepper jack cheese, which that is my favorite, and a little bit of Cholula on it. It was fantastic. Super good breakfast, really quick, really easy, and it was just real good. like real good. And I sort of set the tone for myself for the rest of the day by starting out having those vegetables. And at lunchtime, we had leftover broccoli and beef with more cauli rice. I cooked up more cauli rice. And then for dinner, we had sausage and cabbage skillet. It's kind of a take on the one that they do in the cookbook, but not identical. I used chicken sausage and it was so good. So good. That is a meal to always have available to you in your freezer. Chicken sausages in the freezer, and I don't know if you can freeze coleslaw. My gut tells me that you can't, but I've never actually tried it. I wonder if I did it in the food saver, if I could save it that way. Because you're cooking it, so it's not like it has to be crispy the way it does like in coleslaw. The things I think of. Anyway, might be a future test out for me. So all three of my main meals on Monday had a solid volume of vegetables and I felt great. And then it was just like, it's a snowball effect. So just the next day, having more vegetables throughout the day. I started off today's breakfast, instead of having something like just scrambled eggs with cut up colorful peppers in it, I decided to have egg salad on a bed of salad. So not your standard breakfast, but it was so good. It was exactly what I needed. It was a deep S meal because the mayo was made with avocado oil and eggs, and the egg salad was like just mayo and hard-boiled eggs and a little bit of salt and pepper. And then I put it on top of spinach, like a fantastic deep S meal, right? So easy, so easy. And it kind of, if I start off the day with a savory tasting dish, I notice that I tend to do a lot better. If I start off my day with oatmeal, I wind up wanting sweet and more sweet and more sweet. So I think that's something that I am going to continue to practice implementing. It's not going to be perfect, obviously, but I'm going to continue to practice doing that because I think that matters for me. Hopefully this next set of days, I can continue to start my day off with vegetables first, even if it's weird. Even if it's weird, I'm gonna do it because I feel like a lot of times we get stuck in the rut of breakfast should be sweet foods like you know, oatmeal or some kind of a muffin or a cereal or like a Danish. Oh my goodness, if you've ever tried the fathead dough as cheese Danish, oh, so good. So good. Definitely a heavy S and not something you should eat very often. But holy smokes, that'll kick my sweet tooth into hyperdrive. I digress. That's about where I'm at today. My brain has been a little bit foggier this past week. And I think a lot of it has to do with that lack of intentionality. So I'm hopeful that this coming week I can sort of kick my own rear into gear and be more intentional with my choices. So it's already started off well. I'm pleased with that. So how has your past week been on your adventure through health? I am very excited about my Instant Pot. I've already used it like a dozen times and I've owned the thing and it's been out of the box for a week. I feel like I'm a little bit in hyperdrive when it comes to this thing, but I'm very excited to continue learning how to use that and how I can use it wisely in my Trim Healthy Mama journey. And there's that journey word again, dagnabbit. And I am at a loss for words. I'm gonna hop off of here. I'm gonna go get to work on some lunch and hopefully make it a heavy veggie day. And I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.